Welcome to the Business Spotlight. My name is Jada Walker. I am your host for today's conversation, and my guest is Derek Berkey, the CEO of Invigor Medical. We'll be talking about the Invigor business, challenges, best practices, and share a peek at what it's really like to operate a business. So, Derek, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here today. I'd love for you to give us a little bit of background about who you are and tell us a little bit about the Invigor business.
Hey Jetta, thanks for having me on. It's a lot of fun being CEO of Invigor Medical, and it's been a little bit of an interesting journey to get here. I actually started in the company as the general manager of Invigor Medical. They initially brought me in as part of the startup, and essentially, I just thought that there's a lot of work to do, and kind of filled in the gaps and worked my way into operations, and then into an executive role, and then eventually into CEO. And I'm really proud of what we do at Invigor Medical. What we do is we offer treatments to the population that people are looking for, and especially like to target the aging population because honestly, it's one that is somewhat underserved. And one of the biggest things that a lot of people think about as they age is this thing of lifespan versus health span, of being able to continue their lives and be as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And so what we do and the treatments that we offer are all in service to that. So primarily we focus on weight loss, sexual health like erectile dysfunction, and finally longevity. So helping people live as long as they can for as well as they can.
Wow, that's a lot. I like that there's a lot of different options for different people. Um, that's very interesting. So to set the stage for the viewers and listeners, generally speaking, I know you said that you don't own the business yourself. So are there who actually owns the business, and like are there investors outside of the owners and all of that? I mean, I'm not sure if you know that, but that would be great to hear about.
Yeah, so I work with a team of owners, and we work very closely. And really, what it comes down to is they give me a vision of what they're wanting to accomplish, and then I go and enact that vision. So they are somewhat ADHD. They have a lot of ideas. They have a lot of things that they want to go and do, and they've kind of trusted me to act as both the voice of reason to say this is what we need to focus on because we only have so many resources, but then also the integrator that actually makes what they want and what they see and the vision they have actually make it happen. So that's kind of the role that I play, and it's been a lot of fun because honestly, I have my own little ADHD tendencies. It's just different than theirs, and so a lot of times we work very synergistically together because we're able to bounce ideas off each other. But then I'm able to take what their ideas are and actually structure them into reality. So it's been pretty fun on that front.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So when you look at your role, how many hours do you spend working in the business and how many on the business? So like actually like if that makes I'm sorry, I'm like trying to I guess over explain. I'm not sure if you understood it the
No,
first
that
way
yeah, that totally makes sense. Yeah. So I mean,
yeah.
if I had to do a split, um, it's probably pretty even actually. So I spend quite a bit of time working in the business, making sure that things are getting set up and making sure that everything's the right way, but then also trying to figure out what are the next steps we're going to be taking? What are the strategic moves we're going to be making when it comes to marketing, when it comes to operations, when it comes to our clinical practices, making sure that we're staying ahead of the compliance curves and things along like that. So,
Um, I like how you split it up 50-50. That's really great because most people they just don't know how to split up their time very well.
yeah.
I'm one of those people sometimes, so I definitely get that. Okay, so before we get into the nitty gritty of the business itself, let's take a look into your background and what led you here. So, why did you choose to go into this role as CEO under the owners instead of working for yourself in a different business?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for it. Um, I think that growing up, my dad was a entrepreneur. He had his own business. And in a lot of ways, I think some people would say like, oh, then, that would inspire you to become an entrepreneur yourself. But really, to a certain degree, I saw how much he worked and how much family time he was missing, how much he was somewhat of a workaholic. And now he's
Yeah,
hit a certain point in his life where he can relax a little bit more. But um, I honestly saw that and was somewhat turned away from wanting to start my own business. But
right.
essentially, I knew that I wanted to be involved in running a business. And so I just kind of worked my way up until I got to the point where I am now. And honestly, I love it. I love the fact that, I'm able to take something that has been built up and continue to run with it, continue to build it up, continue to make it profitable and continue to really make it something that I'm proud of. In terms of like what drove me to this field in general, I actually started, and this is a pretty integral to who I am as a CEO of this company, of a health company, is I started
Mhm.
in the medical field as a caregiver. And I
Nice.
think that that's very crucial to my viewpoint on medicine, is that one way or another, whether we like it or not, we're all going to end up being old. And we're all going to
Yeah.
end up getting to the end stages of our lives. And nobody wants to look at that because it's an uncomfortable truth. But there was multiple times when I was a caregiver where there would be people basically just sitting in their rooms, relying on someone else, just being completely ignored, completely neglected. And I
Mhm.
just felt this pressure to continue to care for them. And really, like that, those moments are what really formed uh, my view of always taking care of the patient, making sure that the patient is taken care of. And so that's a driving force behind Invigor Medical and what we do. But another part of it, and I touched on this earlier, is I saw what happens when people don't take care of their health and at the end stages. And so everything that we've been building at Invigor Medical is to help people in those end stages to live their best possible lives. Because I've seen what happens when you don't. And so
Yeah.
trying to get these treatments out to as many people as possible, but not just that, also trying to get the highest leverage lifestyle changes, the things that little things like doing resistance training on a regular basis, making sure that you're eating enough protein, making sure you're eating enough fiber, making sure you're getting good sleep. They're very fundamental things, but if done consistently over time, can really have a huge impact on people's lives. And so really like that is a huge part of our mission at Invigor Medical is try to give people the basics that they can do on a regular basis that's going to help them at the end of their lives the most.
I almost need you to talk to my grandma because she is one of those people. She does not want to listen to anybody. But like if it's like someone like you, she would definitely listen to you. But if it's me, she's not gonna listen. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to show her this podcast later. um, well, that's great. I love that because and even not just my granny, my grandma on my mom's side, and my grandpa, they were in a nursing home. So I know what you're talking about whenever you're talking about they're just sitting in the room waiting for someone to come tend to them. And it's not
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, I love that. What impact did this have on your growth as CEO?
It's one of these things where when I switched to the role of CEO, a lot of the day-to-day stuff that I was doing stayed the same, but other parts of it were kind of being the face of the company, representing the company, doing my best to know what I'm talking about to a certain degree. And so that's really what drove the focus, the forward-facing focus of trying to create the messages that tap on these fundamentals, the things that if people do 80% of or 20% of the time they get 80% of the results. So that's a big part of the CEO part. But like really it also comes down to having a clear focus on um, profit and making sure that what we're doing, because if we can't stay profitable, then we can't continue to help people, And so
Right.
a big part of that is getting the message out through marketing. Part of that is making sure that the subscription, the logic that we set up for monthly recurring revenue makes sense, not just for us, but also for the patient, something that they want to do. Because like we're in this space with a lot of really good competitors. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how different people respond to competitors. I think it's an absolute honor to be able to compete against people that are performing at such high levels and to use them as inspiration, use them as fuel to do even better. And so, I look at them, but there's also things that we can learn from them. So like a lot of our competitors,
Mm-hmm.
they'll market a price at like 176 per month, but in order to get that, you have to buy 6 months worth of medication. which
Oh,
all at
what?
once, and you have to drop something like $1,000, and but they're advertising with this price. And so, it's one of these things where it's like it gets people in the door, but then it's kind of a bait and switch, right? And so something that we're doing
Yeah.
at Invigor Medical is we try to be as transparent with the prices as we possibly can, because at the end of the day, that's what the consumer wants. The consumer wants clear, understandable, like, okay, if they say they're advertising this at 176 or whatever the price is, they show up, and the thing that they're most likely going to buy, which is the month to month subscription, to say like, hey, I want to get on Somorlin, which is one of our peptides that we provide people access to. It's a month
Hmm.
to month subscription, and they can see, oh, if I want to sign up for the first month, this is what the cost is, and it's not a moving target. They don't have to buy 6 months supply of it to get
Yeah.
the best possible price. So yeah, that's one of the strategies that we take in order, and those are the types of things that I think about as CEO, of trying to take care of the patient, not just in the care part of it, but also like in the financial and the logistical side of it as well.
Yeah, because then it almost makes the company seem a little scammy, and you don't want to, it's like not trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you guys are very upfront. That is very good. I love that about any type of company. So since you brought some of that stuff up, let's move on to what makes your business so special. Why do your customers and clients choose you guys over the competition?
That's a good question. And we touched a little bit on the pricing part of it, but really, I think that
Hmm.
one of our biggest strengths, and it has been from the beginning, is our customer service is next to
Yeah.
none. Like and that's a huge focus for us. So we have a team that is very dedicated to taking care of our patients. And if you look at our Google reviews, you'll specifically see one of our team members, Brooklyn. She's mentioned probably a couple hundred times in these 5-star reviews. People just raving about working with Brooklyn, but it's because we train our staff to really assess people's needs, not just clinical, not just financial. Like, they really take the time to try to understand where people are coming from and make sure that things try to get taken care of on the first touch, if possible. We try to avoid
Yeah.
switching between departments as much as possible. And the other part of it too is like the actual time that you have to wait on a line is
Hmm.
very little. There's a
Oh.
you call a lot of our competitors, and a lot of times you're going to be waiting on the phone line for a very long time, or you try to chat in, and like sometimes they don't even reply back, or you have to send a ticket into some inbox. If you come and chat into
Oh,
us,
geez.
you are gonna get an initial AI bot that's gonna say like, hey, do you have
Hmm.
any issues? But if you say, I want to talk to a representative, within 15 minutes you're gonna be talking to a representative. You're gonna be on the line actually talking to them. So that's one of the things that I think is a huge strength for us at Integrator Medical.
Yeah, I love that because a lot of companies, I feel like they don't put enough time into their customer service, and that's why people just go away from their business.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like I think we used to have AT&T or something. Or I don't know if it was our internet or if it was like our phones, but I swear they have like the worst, the worst customer service I've ever
Yeah.
experienced in my life. So yeah, I love that, and especially the wait time is like minimal. That's the best. No one wants to be on the phone all day.
No, they don't. And yeah, we want to respect our clients' time.
Yeah. So what is one thing you wish more people knew about the business?
About Invigor Medical, it's one
Mhm.
of these things where I think that this is a rising trend. Uh, Peptides. There's a kind of is a bit of
Mm.
a buzzword at the moment, and people are very curious about what peptides are. And really, just to give a very brief statement on it, peptides are little chains of amino acids that are inside your body that act as messengers to do specific things. And we're all very familiar with probably the most famous peptide that people don't know as a peptide is actually insulin. And we've been using insulin to treat patients for almost 100 years now. So it's a very
Oh.
well known, well documented phenomena, or scientific process in our bodies that we are now continuing to leverage. But what a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know is that when people are looking for peptides, um, they'll go and they'll run into these websites called research chemical websites, where essentially
Mhm.
they're selling the same things that we're selling for a fraction of the cost, which is just like, well, that sounds great. But what you don't see, or maybe you do see when you go and visit these websites, is it says like this is a research chemical, is not meant to be injected into a human body, right? And people are
Mm.
purchasing this not, you know, not to be
Yeah,
injected,
not
and they're
knowing.
saying, and they're like, my subject is reacting in this way when they're really referring to themselves. And it's just like what a lot of people don't know is that these research chemicals are not regulated in the same way that many of the medications and compounds that we sell, we get from compounding pharmacies, which are held to the highest degree of scrutiny and regulations and inspections. And like, really, I stand behind all of the compounding pharmacies that we work with to a great degree. Like, I have a massive degree of respect for them and the amount of stringency. I've actually had the opportunity to go and tour the facilities, and they're all phenomenal. Um, but so that what I wish more people would know is that there are better options out there than research chemicals. And if the price seems too good to be true, it probably is, because they don't spend any time to actually like wash out the contaminants in these
Mm.
chemicals, which then can build up and cause really bad side effects. Oftentimes, these research chemicals are in like 50-gallon drums just in some guy's garage,
Mm.
not temperature regulated, not
Yeah.
regulated really in any way. They could be completely like deteriorating and falling apart, or the plastic could be leaking into the actual chemical and causing all kinds of issues. And so that's one thing that I wish more people would know is, if they're looking for peptides, make sure that you're getting it from a legitimate source, that is getting it from compounding pharmacies that are US based, and that if they are providing you prescription grade peptides, that they're providing you and also a doctor's consult with a prescription document to send off to that compounding pharmacy. Otherwise, you have no idea what you're going to get.
Yeah, because I feel like that's a lot with everything on the internet nowadays, because everyone is just promoting it. They see influencers taking whatever. So they're like, oh, yeah, like I need to take that. But it's like, you don't even know what's in it.
Right.
You didn't look into anything, you didn't do any research.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that answer. So this is going to lead me into marketing, which is something that's vital for every business out there, of course, and often is an area that most businesses struggle in. So I've always been curious about successful businesses and what they're doing. So what percentage of your monthly sales is typically invested back into your marketing budget?
That's a really good question. Actually, before we go there,
Oh, good.
there's a little bit of a story that I want to tell. Before
Yeah, go
we
ahead.
started marketing, we had to get something called LegitScript certification.
Mm.
And in during that process of getting LegitScript certified, we relied 100% on SEO for all of our business. And
Oh, okay.
so at that point, we were bringing in a very basically, we were able to operate with 30 plus employees on SEO only, which was absolutely incredible. And so I
Yeah.
would say one of the biggest things that a lot of people can do when it comes to marketing is make sure that you diversify. So if you're relying only on paid ads, if anything goes wrong in that arena, and which with the arena that we're in, advertising, or anybody that's specifically in the medical space that is trying to advertise medications, there are a lot of stringencies. There's a lot of red tape and regulations around advertising medications. So I'd say if you're not in the SEO game, then you're probably losing out. Same thing though, is we were super heavy into the SEO game, and we were
Mhm.
doing really good, but we just recently got into the advertising game, and yeah, it's been a game changer. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the
Oh, good.
overall budget, I don't have any hard numbers on me right now, but I know that it's something that we're investing in and we're seeing a great return on. So yeah, it's been really good.
Well, good. That's awesome. And then, so, do you know? I guess right now, I guess you kind of did just answer it. I would say you guys are just using. Oh wait, sorry. My brain is like not working. It's almost like it's Monday again. So for the business, how many different strategies are you using currently now? Since I say you guys were just working on the SEO, but now are you still doing that? And um,
Paid
other
ads.
things? I said you kind of like, yeah. Okay, so that was okay. I heard that,
Yeah.
but I was like,
Yeah. So we're doing SEO, we're doing paid ads. We have an email list that we send out to on a very regular basis. We have the Invigor Medical podcast as well. And that serves as more as somewhat of an inbound marketing rather than outbound marketing. A lot of the things that
Okay.
we sell at Invigor Medical, the prescriptions that we provide for these medications, a lot of people haven't heard about them,
Right.
or they have heard about them and from these research chemical websites, and they don't know what the risks are there. And so, with the podcast, kind of our focus was providing education on a lot of these things so that way people can understand more about what they actually are. One of my favorite episodes that we ever did was with our medical director, Dr. Andrew Hamilton. And
Mm.
it basically says, like, are peptides the future of medicine? And really, at the end of the day, I think that there is so much unexplored space in peptides because they work naturally within our body. They work with the natural processes of our body rather than some medications, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but some medications work on our body. They do something to our body, whereas peptides
Mm.
work with the body to enhance a regular process. Let me give an example of that. Um, a long time ago, people would sell human growth hormone, which is currently for weight loss purposes is illegal. Um,
Mm.
but the problem with growth hormone, and part of the reason why it became illegal, is because when it is introduced exogenously, or when you take a hormone outside of your body and put it into your body basically
Mhm.
says, like, I already have too much of this. I'm going to shut down production. So your body's own production of human growth hormone can shut down.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
so that's human growth hormone acting on the body. Um, One of the peptides that we sell, which is Somorelin, um, is what's called a growth hormone secretagogue. That's a big word, but basically all it is it's a little peptide that goes into your body, and it basically tells your body to produce more of its own growth hormone, which then can have a bunch of additional added benefits, such as increased recovery time. Uh, you release growth hormone during your sleep, and so it can actually improve sleep. It can help
Wow.
reduce body fat. It can increase the strength of ligaments and tendons, and so it can actually help people recover from workouts better. It can increase bone density. So all of these things, the huge focus that we have on the elderly population and people that are continuing to age and people that are caring about making sure that they stay the healthiest that they can as they age. So Morlin is such a
Mhm.
good option because of all of those things. Those are all the things that tend to suffer as people age. They tend to sleep
Yeah.
worse, their bones get more frail, they get more injuries, they tend to gain more fat because there's that's just what happens. And so Somorelin can be a huge boon to people, and can really help a lot with each of these things. So
Yeah, I like all that. I'm like, I feel like I need it. I'm only 29. I feel like I need Jeez, I'm like, I feel old. Oh my gosh. But I love that. That was great. Um, so moving on from that, what approach have you taken to track your guys' leads? Do you guys use a CRM that you prefer?
yeah, we use a CRM, and we track pretty much everything through there. We make sure that it's HIPAA compliant just because, it's we are dealing with personal health information. So it
Mm,
integrates with our EHR, which is our electric health record system. And we are able to keep track of everything there.
right. Awesome. I was like, I know there's companies who literally don't do that at all. And I'm like, you guys are
Yeah.
crazy. So
Yeah, I
moving
can't
from
imagine
marketing to
not doing it.
right. I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, don't you want to know how what's your how to increase certain areas of your business? But anyway, so moving from marketing to sales, what are your sales process look like?
So our sales process, I mean, just in general, when someone lands onto our website, they're typically looking for a specific treatment. And
Mm-hmm.
we have a couple of them. Um, our flagship, one of our flagship medications is actually something called Trimix. And without getting into all of the nitty-gritty details, I'll just say it's a ED medication, that is incredibly effective. So people that are experiencing erectile dysfunction that have tried tadalafil or sildenafil. Those are generic forms of Viagra or Cialis. For people that
Mm.
have used those and those haven't worked or they have too many side effects, they uh, we have Trimix, which works in 95% of the time and has almost no side effects. And so it's an incredibly potent thing. So, anyways, people might look for something like Trimix, or they might look for Somorelin online, and they come to our website. Once they get to the website, they basically say, hey, they can see the pricing. We're very upfront with it. Then they can say, yeah, I want to get started with treatment. From there, they'll fill out a medical intake form. Once they fill out the medical intake form, that's taken in front of a doctor. They're able to review it and say, okay, this patient is experiencing ED, or this patient is experiencing poor sleep or fatigue. And they're able to make a decision of, okay, I'm going to prescribe this person Somorelin or Trimix or any of these other treatments that we offer. Once that's and they have a consult with the patient. So once they have the consult and they prescribe the medication, that's sent off to one of our partnered compounding pharmacies, and the compounding pharmacy ships straight to the patient's door. During that process, there's a lot of people that don't really know all the details of our medications, or they're kind of hesitant and they just want some questions answered first. So if they call in, they're going to get a hold of one of our treatment specialists who are very up to date with all of the information with each of our medications, and can basically walk people through the whole process, and answer any questions that they might have. So when we found a lot of success with that is, a lot of people feel comfortable doing the process by themselves, but for those that basically just want a little bit of extra hand holding, we have that option as well.
That's nice. I love that for them. So earlier, I know you had mentioned you guys have a few team members where possible. I feel it's always important to address the topic of building a great team. So how would you describe your leadership style in business, and has it changed over the years at all?
Yeah, I would say it's probably changed. It's one of these things where, like, as you lead a team, I care a lot about the team that I work with, and I want to make sure that everybody succeeds. And part of that
Yeah.
is encouraging them to continue to build skill sets, continue to build themselves up, because I'm very influenced by Stephen Covey. One of my favorite books of all time that I've probably read 5, 6, 7 times is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And in that, he talks a lot about that the best leaders bring out the best aspects and really try to help others become leaders themselves. And so that's a huge part of my philosophy, and what drives me is trying to help the teammates around me being able to take ownership of the problems that they face on a regular basis, and be able to actually step up and try to provide them with the skills, the authority to be able to say, hey, I'll let you use your judgment on this and be able to handle this. And that helps us stay very agile, because otherwise it has to move up the chain of command, and every single time, it has to be approved by this manager or that manager. And I like being able to give people the autonomy to be able to make those decisions as much as they can.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, I was just writing down a little bit. Do you see any other leaders on your team developing at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Awesome.
work with quite a few of them. One of my very close coworkers is Jacob Prudent, and he's moved up from being just a full stack developer on our team, helping us develop some of the software, to now he's our lead technical. I don't know his exact title at the moment, but I would have to take a look. But he's currently leading our entire technical endeavors for the entire company, and it's been an incredible thing to watch him move up through kind of the ranks, and have more and more influence as we grow as a company.
Yeah, I love how you guys like basically hire from, or like you guys move people up. I'm trying to think of, like, the specific word I'm like trying to think of, but it's like not coming out of my mouth. Um, Basically like hire from within. Like, you guys don't hire like outside of the job. You guys look within and like move those people up who are actually stepping up to the plate. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. What type of training do you have in place for your team members?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have a lot of medications that people need to know about, right? So we use a learning system. We have basically courses built out for each of the medications that they need to learn more about, as well as, I spent, what is it, probably a year and a half ago, I spent a full month following around each of the departments and really understanding the processes from beginning to end, and documenting the whole thing using ChatGPT to essentially like throw brain vomit into, and then it helped me it basically spat back out of me an entire handbook of about 42 pages worth of just documentation and processes of saying this is how we do things at Invigor Medical. So that's a big part of the training that we do, is making sure that people know the process from beginning to end. So yeah, we use multiple systems, as well as multiple documents, SOPs, things along those lines, to make sure that people are trained up and know what to do.
Awesome. Yeah, because you don't want to be talking to someone and they don't know anything about what they're saying. I love that.
Right.
All right. Well, let's move forward and like look into the future of the business. Where do you see the business in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I see us continuing to doing what we're doing and continuing to, because as we continue forward, new treatments continue to come out, and we are constantly looking at the future, constantly looking at things that are on the horizon, and trying to make sure that we communicate very closely with our compounding pharmacies. I spend a lot of time in academic journals, making sure that I'm staying on top of the research of up and coming treatments that are coming our way. One of the biggest ones that I'm really excited about, I don't know if it's going to be something we offer or not, but regardless, a treatment that I'm very, very excited about,
Hmm.
hitting the market in general, is actually something called bimagrumab, a bit of a
Okay.
mouthful, but it's what's called a myostatin inhibitor. And in studies, they've actually found that it can simultaneously help people decrease body fat and increase muscle at the same time. And so by a significant margin. So yeah, it's an absolutely insane therapy. It's still in clinical trials right now. I think they just moved into human trials just very recently. And yeah, I think that once it hits the market, it's probably going to be anywhere from 3 to 5 years from now. But once that hits the market, it's going to be huge. So just keeping an eye on that and trends along those lines are things that we're looking at. And so yeah, that's all part of kind of forecasting the future for Invigor Medical and for the company.
That's awesome. Like, I'm glad you're on the podcast because now I'm like, you guys heard it here first.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, that is cool though. Like, that's so crazy that they can make things like that. I didn't like. I'm just like, how do you do that?
It's pretty
My
crazy, yeah.
mind
And it's Eli Lilly actually just recently purchased the company that was doing the research on it for $2 billion. So
oh wow.
it's a billion dollar drug. So yeah, it's definitely one to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely be watching. I'll be telling my best friend she's a nutritionist or a dietitian. So I'm gonna be like, girl, you better be on the lookout.
Yeah.
So what do you or what has your approach been to goal setting, and how many goals do you like to set at a time? And do you document them and have like a time frame for them at all?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think with goals, if you set too many goals, you're basically just setting yourself up to fail. So yeah, I think that setting 2 or 3 goals, solid goals with deadlines, is definitely a very important thing. What I like to do is try to do at the beginning of each day, and this is something that I probably should implement again, that I've done previously, but and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I need to do this better. Is essentially at the beginning of each day saying these are the 2 or 3 things that I need to accomplish today, um,
Oh, I
and
like that.
doing that every single day, of essentially saying what are the most important things that I can work on today. And by setting the intention daily, you can cut through the noise, you can cut through the crap, and basically just get right to the most important tasks that need to be done.
I love that. I'm actually gonna start doing that. That's like great advice. I'm just writing that down so that I can use that later. Okay. Well, you do have a very interesting story. Like, my mind's blown. I'm gonna probably go rewatch this right after we get done. So as we wrap up, I do have those rapid fire questions. Are you ready for them?
Perfect. Let's go.
Awesome. Awesome. So what is the key to success for you?
The key to success for me is a learning mindset, a continuous growth mindset of not allowing yourself to become fixed and not being defined by your setbacks, but rather seeing your setbacks as learning tools to continue to grow and move forward.
Nice. Awesome. So then What is a piece of advice that you would give to other business owners?
I would say, the something that's core to me is putting the patient first. But I think that really it also comes down to the same thing for any business owner, putting the client first, putting the customer first. It's the classic Best Buy, like the
Mm-hmm.
customer is always right, which I don't necessarily always agree with, but in terms of like keeping the best interest of the client at the core of what you do, because if you keep the best interest of the client at the core of what you do, then they're going to keep coming back. Oftentimes so many people are more interested in just making the buck right now. Whereas really when it comes to lifetime value of customers, if they feel taken care of, they will continue to come back.
Right. Awesome. And then I know you mentioned earlier a book that you really, really like, but what is the book or podcast that you're reading or listening to that you are like, sorry, that you're listening to right now? Stumbling on my words.
Yeah, I think one that read recently was actually $100 million Leads and $100 million Offers by Alex Hormozy.
Hmm.
He's very popular in the space, and I was avoiding the Hormozy hype train for a long time, and I finally caved because one of my coworkers was like, "No, man, you gotta read it, you gotta listen to it." So I did, and it's phenomenal. Like, and one of the biggest things I got from it was Hormozy's value equation, of essentially having the dream
Hmm.
outcome and perceived risk divided by the amount of time it takes to get the dream outcome and like what they actually have to sacrifice in terms of money or time or things like that. And so just by having on the top end of the curve, the things that they're going to be getting divided by the things that they have to give, the lower you can um, make the barrier to entry and the higher the reward, the more people are going to want to continue to come back and continue to get your offer.
Hmm. I like that. Yeah, I'm gonna read all the books and everything that you're saying. They just sound really good and like very like helpful in like the business world. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
love that. Okay, so here's a little fun question. If you had a bit of magic dust that you could choose to sprinkle on one spot of your business of the business, where would it be?
That's a really good question. Right now, we are in the process of iterating on our ads again. So it'd probably be that. It would actually probably be our paid ads of being able to get the magic sauce there. And I think honestly, I think we're hitting some pretty good stuff currently. So, um, but I just would love to see that succeed.
Right? I know like a lot of people who do use paid ads, and I'm like, how do you get it to work? Like, I don't see how people are clicking it. Whatever. Like, good
Yeah.
for you, obviously. All right. So before we get to the final question of the day, would you like to share with the audience how they can follow you and learn more and contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have an Instagram. It's very small. I put basically no effort into it whatsoever. But if you want to follow me there when I eventually decide to do anything towards that, that's uh, at the Derek Berkey. Um, but really, the most majority of my time I spend on LinkedIn. I post a lot of things. I talk about the future of medicine, including the bimagrumab, the myostatin inhibitors. There is a post I made recently about Eli Lilly acquiring a gene knockout therapy where they can lower people's LDL cholesterol permanently by like 20% just by using genetic variations. And so they spent, billions of dollars on that. Social commentary, things along those lines. So if you want to hear more about those types of things or more of the things that Jada and I have been talking about here on the podcast, you can follow me on LinkedIn. Just search Derek Berkey and you'll see me. I'm CEO of Invigor Medical, and you'll see me there.
I'll definitely be searching you on LinkedIn. Now that you've mentioned the little, what'd you say it was like a blog or something, or article?
Yeah, it's just I make posts on a regular basis. I post pretty regularly. Right now, I'm actually in
That's
what's
cool.
called the LinkedIn Hunger Games.
Oh, really?
So it's a guy. His name is Alec. He put together something where you have to put a post out every day during the week. Not so you get the weekends off, but every day during the week for 10 weeks. And if you don't post, then you get dropped out. And there's like a $60 like sign up fee. And but like if you stick for the whole thing, then essentially uh, you all the money stays the same, but all the people that dropped out basically get pushed over to the side, and everyone that stuck around gets to share the pool. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
it's pretty fun. So, anyways, I'm going to be posting every day now, probably for the next 8 weeks or so, because we're down 2 weeks. And but yeah, so you'll see me posting there regularly.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we've come to the final question of the day, and that is, what is most inspiring to you today?
The thing that's the most inspiring to me today is how little it takes to get great returns. Um, and that's the biggest message I want to push to as many people as possible is just really, it's a thing that you've always heard that your mom told you, eat your vegetables, get your sleep, all that.
Hmm.
But like, I'm just here to emphasize it takes so little. It just takes intention and making sure that you hit those basic marks. You don't have to, for resistance training, you don't have to go to the gym every single day and work out for 2 hours. You just need to go 20 minutes twice a week and be very intentional about your training. But if you are very intentional about your training, you can get 80% of the benefits with 20 minutes in 2 weeks or twice a week. Same thing with diet. If your diet is 80% clean, if you're eating vegetables and you are making sure that you're not eating too many calories, it's really that simple. It just comes down to calories. If you're not eating too many calories, you can include a little bit of fun food. If you're going to a party and someone has cake, you can eat the cake and still live your life as long as you're getting your protein, as long as you're getting your fiber, and as long as you're not exceeding those calories. Same thing with sleep. It's the basics, and like that's a huge part of what inspires me currently. Is just making sure that people know that it takes so little that can enact so much. It just takes intention to get you there.
Yeah, that was great. Well, this was definitely a great conversation. I've definitely enjoyed talking to you, so and hearing your story. So thank you so much for coming again. Also, I just encourage all of you who are watching to save the show and come back and watch it again because Derek definitely really did give some great insights on business. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get the notifications every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, and a special thank you to Derek for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.